Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Come on into the space. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning and welcome, 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 welcome. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Antoinette. Good morning, Angie and Roslyn. Good morning, Byron and Tawana and Maya and Leah and Janetta. Good morning, Tammy. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sharice. Good morning, good morning, good morning to each of you. Good morning, Trina and Baranda over on YouTube. Good morning. Good morning. Excuse me, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Please share. Good morning. And for those of you, if you have not already liked our YouTube page, let me put this link on over here for you to like over here on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and you have never viewed us or been in community with us on YouTube, I just dropped the link right here on Facebook for you to go ahead and subscribe. Definitely click like and click the bell so that you get notified when we are live. Please help us. We are working to increase our presence on that platform, and I would love your assistance. Good morning, Raquel and Stephanie, E.I. Renee. Good morning, Brother Michael, Addie, STL in the house. Good morning, Erica. Hey, is that my cousin? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Melva Sampson, Reverend Melva L. Sampson. I am the creator, curator, and digital griot of the Pink Robe Chronicles and The Clearing. I thank you for joining us this morning. Those of you for whom this is your first time, welcome into this space. It is a beautiful space of gathering, sharing, wisdom bearing, truth telling. It is a space that is radically inclusive. And we welcome you here. For those of you who are also members of our subscription community, The Clearing, we welcome you back. And for those who desire, who are interested in becoming a part of our subscription community, The Clearing, which is where directly after Pink Robe Chronicles, we go over to a private Zoom link and talk back to the text and engage in community for about another hour or so. And for those who cannot join us live, they receive the recording of the Zoom along with the chat the following day for them to consume at their leisure and to engage. They are also members of a private Facebook community, also called The Clearing, where we have an opportunity to chat and to engage and to really just build community. And so building community is important for us. We are rooted in the Nguzo Saba, which are the 7 principles. I invite you to go do a quick Google of that, as I don't have time to stop and do that. But for those who are interested in joining and becoming a subscriber, I have pasted that link right here. And before I get on the live Zoom link right after here, I will check to see if any new subscribers have joined. And if you have, if you would just go ahead and DM me, send me a message on either YouTube or Facebook letting me know so that I could get you the Zoom link. This week's announcements. Thank you for all of you all who tuned in to St. Paul's Community Baptist Church there in Brooklyn, New York. While I'm not a member of St. Paul's specifically, however, as a member of the community of liberated folk, I certainly count them as family. Shout out to our community elder, Mama E.T. Hari, Dr. E.T. Hari Teray, who served as their fundi, their guide, their great teacher for this week of their Ma'afa. If you missed any of those services, I encourage you to go to the St. Paul Community Baptist Church YouTube page. I think it's SPCBC BKNY, where you can catch the full week from last week and even now. Shout out to Reverend Raquel Gill, who is preaching there today. So thank you for that. Also, I want to announce that what's today? What's today, y'all? The 26th. So what's this, Thursday? I don't know. Today's the 24th. So on Thursday, September 28th, I invite you to the National Benevolent Association seminar, their Sense seminar, where I will be joining others like who have already gone before me, like Reverend soon to be Dr. Entrepreneur Kendall Brown and others. I will be talking about forging a new path, entrepreneurship, innovation, ministry. You can register right there. So screenshot that link, or you can watch live. And here are the codes. So I hope as many of you that can will join me. Ashe, that as many of you that can will join me on September 28th at 7 p.m. Ashe. Ashe. Good morning, Camille and Glency and Kim. Confidence, Baba, great day. Monique, Candace, Kyle, Rachel, Cynthia, good morning, Sherry, Tashana, Dana, good morning, Erica. Jackson. Listen, Dr. Daniel Black is on, and he was one of the presenters. And let me just say this. Let me say this. Yeah. Listen, Dr. Daniel Omatosho Black, the demonstration of balance. You were lifting up the need for balance in parenting and the value in many African cultural ways of knowing and being, that indigenous cultural ways of knowing and being, before, good morning, Sid and Elizabeth, before or against, amidst colonization, is the balance between the feminine and the masculine. And the way that you showed up and cornrowed Yolanda's hair as a demonstration, as a skill set of why balance is also not just a way of being, but a skill set, and as a demo of balanced parenting and balanced presence in the community, was just, my goodness. It was just wow. Just thank you. As I said to you already, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And all of the presenters, thank you for loving us, the people. and for teaching us and for being present. It was amazing. Good morning to you, Dr. Shayla, and happy birthday to you. This week was your birthday. Good morning, Devon, all the way from Bahrain. Good morning, good morning. So y'all listen, this text has me in a good chokehold. It's not new. You've heard, and I keep saying this over again. I'm gonna keep telling you all. And I guess it's really me. In this moment, I'm recognizing that it's me rubbing up against a particular it's me rubbing up against training and a way of being that I'm working on unlearning. Shout out to Pastor Christian A. Smith, who also was a presenter at the Ma'afa, who talked about unlearning and how unlearning is a process. So it's one thing to call something out and to critique it. It is another to actually work to unlearn, Ashe. To work to unlearn something is a process. And so I think that I keep acknowledging being held by the same text because I'm working to unlearn not simply grind culture, but I'm working to unlearn the idea. Whew, my goodness, this is not even where I was going, but I feel this coming on. I am working to unlearn the idea that I have to search for something new instead of sitting with everything that is new is already within, because indeed there is nothing new under the sun. That it is appropriate for us to find varying interpretations, but interpretations don't always mean new. They simply mean uncovering. Oh my God. Slow clap for myself. Good morning, Natasha. Slow clap for myself. So if I resist grind culture, in the world, then certainly I resist it in the spirit. Ashe. But since Friday, and definitely Friday and Saturday, I have either read and or experienced myself two egregious acts. Egregious, two extremely egregious acts that highlight patriarchy, supremacy, and specifically white supremacy and hegemony. Big words. I'm going to work to unpack them a little bit, and then I'm going to count on you village keepers, to break down some of those words in the chat for community members who may need them broken down. So have at it for those of you. Patriarchy, hegemony, and supremacy. White supremacy, to be exact. Okay? Ashe. So the text that I want to turn to for us to just have some conversation is, you all know it's familiar to me. It should be familiar to you if you've been a part of this community any period of time. And it is just, it just has me. So let's go to it. Hebrews 10:39. And many of you could probably say it by heart at this point because we are always in it. But we are not from those who shrink back and are lost, or who turn away from God. But we are of those who stay. Yes. And are saved. That's my paraphrase. Here it is in the NRSV. But we are not like those who turn away from God to their own destruction, but we are the faithful ones whose souls will be saved. I really wanted to go back to this idea of not shrinking back. And so let's just provide an introduction for those for whom this is new, and then let's just really engage. And again, I invite those of you who are able to become a part of our subscription community so that you can join us over in the clearing right after this for a live conversation where we can see one another and talk to one another. I've already placed that link in the chat. At the top, it says by Stripe, and I encourage you to do so. If the history and determination of Black people in America could be summed up by one scripture, this scripture would be Hebrews chapter 10, verse 39. But we do not belong to those who shrink back and are destroyed, but to those who have faith and are saved. Our history is filled with invention, innovation, and ingenuity. A perusal through the last 100 years of Black people in North America and the Caribbean reveals creative intervention, intellectual aptitude, and spiritual depth. Black bodies weather the liminal space of questionable life and certain death in America, often designated as the grotesque other. Repeatedly bludgeoned and deliberately barbarized, Black bodies signify a history of conquest, enslavement, lynching, and rape. This history is marked on the body of contrary figures of triumph and terror, overexposure and invisibilities. Black bodies have been and remain the fuel of both figurative and literal plantations. Commodified, colonized, and later gentrified, Black embodiment is inextricably linked to fugitivity and captivity. In both, Black people contort their bodies, contort their psycho-emotional health, and spiritual practice to invent, innovate, and intervene tyranny. As again, this me identifying as an Afrocentric, Afrofuturist womanist, a woman identified preacher listening to a particular testimony, particularly the testimony of Fannie Lou Hamer from 1964, her testimony to the Democratic National Committee, that even here in 2023, it exacerbates my weariness. To have the threat of disenfranchisement still loom heavy in my lifetime, to watch Black bodies continue to be hunted by law enforcement and vigilantes, to see governments turn a blind eye to a need for a livable wage, and to watch those who fight for equity and equality maligned, targeted, and perpetuated as domestic terrorists weary. It makes me weary to witness Black folks seeking emancipation. I am weary. Let me leave that script where it is. I am weary when I think not only about Black bodies, and when I say Black bodies, I mean all Black bodies, wherever those bodies are on any kind of spectrum. And yet specifically, I want to just go right in and say that I'm talking about Black women's bodies, Black girls' bodies. I am weary the way in which our bodies, our presence, our space, that we still we remain that patriarchy, hegemony, and supremacy has our bodies in a figurative and oftentimes literal chokehold. And I'm speaking here directly to Black women, to those who identify as Black women, the way in which patriarchy is set up to suck the life out of us, the way that it causes us to have to determine how risky, what kinds of risk we are going to take, to have to think about carefully, to have to strategize before we even act, to have private group chats, to have circles, communities that are strong enough to hold our truth, to mull something over and over and over in our minds before we decide if we are really going to take the risk. And for those of us who have been awakened or endarkened, as Dr. Alton B. Pollard III so often says, have been endarkened into a way of being since our arrival. That even those of us who have attended, who have been initiated through processes of education like masters of divinity degrees, or even if we've been self-taught without moving through the certain kinds of institutions where we learned what academicians, the formal ways that they have named our liberation, even though for some of us it is the way that we have often been, it is the way that we've always been, right? So the way that Alice Walker uses the term womanist, which comes from the root of womanish, which for those of who have a particular kind of lived experience within Black communities, particularly the matrilineal delineations of matrilineal relations between generations of Black women and girls, reveal this idea of being womanish, meaning that you want to know more that is good for you. And many of us, including myself, have grown up in a way wherein we have been womanish before we knew that there was a term, before we knew there was a word, before we knew. And what Alice Walker did was really provide for us just a container, if you will, to be able to name it, so that she could describe it. And what academicians did was take that description and place it on top of what they were already reading and engaging to be able to critique and develop and make a place for their own. But I don't know about you, but but for me, I want to confess and suggest that oftentimes making a place of your own is highly problematic and intimidating to others. It is intimidating to others when you make your own place, when you are able to speak your own truth, when you are able to identify your own lived experience, when you are able to call a thing, when you are able to pull the veil back. It is intimidating. And living in that space makes one weary. Always having to show up and be cognizant of how you show up. Always having to relax your shoulders. Always having to make sure that your face has a kind, resting disposition. Always having to make sure the tone of your voice does not bring forth a type of aggressiveness. Always having to kind of check yourself to make sure that your light is not shining or outshining anyone. Always having to think before doing. It is so problematic that for many of us who have decided to be free in this way, for many of us, my dear sister Monique, for many of us, it makes us kind of pause. There are certain situations that we go through that make us say, hold up, that make us say, this is just too damn much, that make us decide we want to retreat back, that these kinds of behaviors, and particularly when these behaviors are from other Black women, particularly when these behaviors are from other Black folk, it makes us want to say things like, I just need to pull back. I need to fall back for a minute. Yeah. It makes us take ourselves out of the very circles, and these are healthy circles that I'm talking about. It makes us takes ourselves out of the very places that breed the intimacy that will heal us, because the wound created by um, 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 colonialism and patriarchy and imperialism and capitalism, all of these of what Patricia Hill Collins identifies as these interlocking, intertwined systems that oppressed us, systems that are tied together, wherein you cannot talk about one without talking about the other. There is a way in which many of us are experiencing a kind of justice fatigue. We are tired, we are overwhelmed, and when we experience this fatigue and we identify the same behavior that we are fighting, in what we call a broader spectrum, becomes the same behavior we are fighting within at least institutions that were initially built for us and by us. It is enough to make you, in the words of Brother Marvin, throw up both your hands and holler. So, as a result, we're weary. So, the people here in this text, they're weary too. They are suffering because of a different kind of profiling. They have been profiled by the Roman Empire. They have been also profiled by the Jewish religious leadership, because they are followers of Jesus, because they are considered a kind of zealot, because they are not forsaking tradition, but for them building on a new a new iteration through the ministry and the work and the life of Jesus. They are really tired because it was already risky for them to go and to follow this new way. It was already risky, y'all. We've been talking about risky behavior. It was already risky for them to follow this way, to engage this. They already put themselves in a position to face backlash. They had placed themselves in a position for a system to be able to come back to it, to make them vulnerable against the system. They had already taken that risk. They had already done that, and yet even in their initial the initial moments of doing this, the text says up earlier in that chapter, listen, remember when y'all got in trouble? Remember when the authorities came and y'all was like, bump it. Everybody got 5 on it. I'm rocking with you. I'm riding with you. Remember, and everyone chose to be locked up together. Everyone chose to give up everything for the sake of the call, for the sake of liberation, for the sake of justice. And what the writer is saying, that even though this extra step, even though because you've become vocal and now about what your choice is, even though now you are publicly exposed and everybody knows you as a liberator, as a truth fighter, as a follower of the way, I know that it is harder on you, but this is the time for you not to shrink back. This is the time for you to stand. But we are responding, listen, I don't know if I could stand any longer because I'm weary, because these half-baked policies coupled with bureaucratic backlash are giving way to spiritual amnesia and political impotence. I feel broken. The resolve then is just I'm lethargic. I cannot move. My zeal has waned. And for some in this text, they have assimilated. Others in this text went into hiding. Yes, Kyle, even in exile. Their fear of being ridiculed from agents of the state overwhelmed them into silence, and they struggled with both the lack of attention from the culture and the cultural favor given to the dominant power. Oh, can we talk the cultural favor given to the dominant power? Who, child, where is my tea? The cultural favor given to the dominant power. So let's just deal with these three things right quick. What is the writer hitting at? So the work of the Ma'afa this week and all weeks and every year is really about sacred memory. The writer is using then memory of informed struggle for the writer, or at least this is my interpretation, I should say that memory reminding them of their struggle will deliver to them confidence, and this confidence will bring forth perseverance. Hence, social and religious apathy, the way that we combat then this weariness, is by remembering moments of boldness, endurance, and faith. 35 says, so listen, don't abandon your confidence because it brings a good reward. Jesus represents a different way. It's a more equitable way. It is a more communal response. That the writers urge those assembled to not give up their boldness. Be tenacious about the message of Christ visible in the circumstance of the oppressed Ashe. In her book, Sister Outsider, Essays, Speeches, Audre Lorde reminds the readers that, again, our silence will not protect us. I feel like speaking in tongues right now. Because, listen, silence is a hegemonic tool of oppression. I'm going to step my foot in it and say this. This culture, hold on, where did the sentence go? This culture, those who gain from the culture of oppression, the culture of silence, is folks mad that the Reverend Dr. Ebony Marshall Turman has put on full display and on full blast, as she should, the both wretched and ratchet process of one of the Black community's beloved institutions. I even saw one of the most vile responses to her edict from a person, a male that I don't know, who said something to the fact of, you can't, just as it's wrong for people to discriminate, i.e. you can't bully your way into the pulpit. Let me tell you something. Somebody put in the chat, pin your address so we could pull up. And that is how I felt. I had on yesterday, if I could just be honest, and I'm still feeling it in my shoulder, I had anxiety so bad after reading that. But that was really the icing, because something happened on Friday. And I'm gonna try to get to all of this, tie all of this together around this boldness. I experienced something on Friday where, as Derek and I and the community and you all are helping us to raise womanish girls, we have been raising our daughters to advocate for themselves. Something happened within an organization that one of our daughters, that Free is a part of, and she felt like her experience was that it was not just, that there was no due process around it. And so she called me while I was on campus, and she said, I'm about to write this letter. And I'm gonna post it, and I just want you to know. And I said, can you give me a few minutes?